like a long time. I'm not tying my soul to the downward grind.
Hey everyone, and welcome into another episode here of Tony Talking Trash. Today I'm going to tackle that wondrous Beatlesque ultra British band that existed for far too short. Swindon's own XTC. I'm going to count down the records of XTC, the studio records of XTC. Wonderful collaboration of largely three individuals who carried it for the longest period of time. Mr. Andy Partridge, of course, who went on to do some of his own solo stuff and continues to work to this day. Colin Moulding, who's still making music, and Dave Gregory, who's all over the internet as a guitar guru, and of course they've had other ones. They've had other bands, people in the band. Of course, they've had an XTC band come out with some of the old players. Terry Chambers, who played for a long period of time, played drums. You have a Barry Andrews, who was a keyboard player for them for a period of time. And, really as it went on, it became more restrictive. When the live gigs stopped, of course, with Andy's famous bout with, and there's documentaries on it. You probably wouldn't be looking at this if you didn't know this, but, the band lived kind of a regular life with touring and stuff, and did some dates with the Police and such, and was on a fast track actually to popularity in the United States. They had good popularity in certain places, and surprisingly, I think the funny thing is I think they were probably more some of the things that hit in the United States were not necessarily the things that hit in other places. Their discography, of course, I'm counting 14 records here, beginning with the first white music record that was a long ago. They had early years, actually back as far back as 1972. But they had a really electronic beat, and it started different ways. I mean, you had Andy Partridge really from the beginning, and Colin Moulding. Those were the main two. Terry Chambers took it up until about 1982. Barry Andrews, as I'm looking at the chart here, played keyboards from 76 to 78, but had a really important effect. And then Dave Gregory, who really was a multi-instrumentalist who really colored a lot of the records and really brought to life Andy and Colin's beautiful music that they had. But I'm going to count these things down here. We have 14 records, and I think if you look at these things down here, there's certain periods of them. I think the first period you would have to probably say would be from the beginning, from white music, when white music was out. Their first EP they made was 3D EP in August 1977, actually. But Eno was supposed to get it going, but they had the thing out here, and they had it in 1978. And things kind of move forward from there. So let's start not soon thereafter in what I would consider to be, to me, probably their weakest record. I was never a big fan of this era and these songs, and I think it comes down to the songs on it. And that would be the one of 1978's record number 2 released here, which is Go To. And to me, it sounds like it's a second record. It doesn't sound like, to me, the songs are nearly as developed as they are in the other deal. This is really where probably Barry had the greatest influence over the band. Barry has a bunch of songs on it, and he really almost takes equal billing to Andy on this. If you look down through this here, you've got Mechanic Dancing here. You've got Battery Brides, of course. I can't see good here. Of course, Red. What am I thinking when I think of this record? Beatdown. I Am the Audience. It's okay. It's pulsating. It's good. It really fixed itself to a live presentation, and that time that's what the band was about. But certainly, as far as recorded output, I would put that at the bottom at number 14. I'd give that 2 stars. After that, we go to the debut for number 13 for me, White Music, which is their first record come out here in 1978. Virgin here was the first record released in 78. Of course, Radio's in Motion. This is Pop, Do What You Do. Statue of Liberty was the big one. I don't like their cover of All on the Watchtower. I don't really get it. I don't know what it's all about. It's okay with me, but not so crazy. Newtown Animals are really good. Spinning Top and Neon Shuffle. Good songs. Andy really dominating this, and this really changed. Like I say, the writing credits really changed on the second record, and that's why the second record is significantly less. Still, this is 2.5 stars. White Music, 1978. Now let's really take a big jump. And this may make some people mad. And I've kind of been perplexed. I've seen a lot of people here rank this record very high. But this to me is the last one. And this is Wasp Star. And everybody's going, I got it at number 12, 2.5. I don't know what it is about this record. I just can't get it like the other record. I've tried to listen to it. People accuse me of, well, you shortchanged this, you put this one down. I just don't like the songs very much. I'm the Man Who Murdered Love. I really don't like. Playground is okay. Stupidly Happy is all right. Standing In for Joe, it's okay. It's kind of corny. You know, even the best songs are corny. Church of Women, The Wheel and the Maypole, okay, so it's a good outro. But You and the Clouds Will Still Be Beautiful and Wounded Horse. To me, it sounds like some of the retake, and it sounds like it's shooting for some of the ground that they did better on None Such and records like that. The mature version. I just think without Dave on this thing, I think it loses a dimension personally. I can't project to what would happen, but I can just say that you can hear, I've done some recording myself and done one thing on yourself where you work hard and you do a lot of the thing yourself. And it's a big difference from working with people. I think you get a better perspective when you you're able to work with people and you get a broader palette. And that's kind of what made the Beatles so great. What they say about the sum being greater, the final thing being greater than the sum of its parts. It's what they talk about. Well, I think let's talk about number 11 and them going to the well one extra time, because in 1985, if I'm not mistaken, the boys came out under a pseudonym of psychedelic 60s stars called the Dukes of Stratosphere. And this is their second attempt, 3-star from the later period in 1987. 2 years later, they follow with this record. Vanishing Girl is okay. Have You Seen Jackie is okay. This was said that some of this sounded like Pet Sounds. I think, what did they say? The one Pale and Precious did. Kaleidoscope is a nice song. You're My Drug's nice. Yeah, I like the way the bottom drops out and you've got that bicycle pumping thing happening. But Brainiac's Daughter, The Affiliated, it's okay, but I'm not near as crazy about this as I am this. I think it's one too many times to the well. I think that rather than follow this up now, I think if they would have waited a couple years and gone back to it, it would be there. I think I read a quote here about this period from Dave Gregory, and Dave said, well, he kind of expected what happened would happen. He goes, because how many times, can you tell the same joke and get a laugh? And that's kind of, he saw it as a joke, where a lot of people saw it as a vehicle for legitimate expression. And it is, it's maybe a kitsch and tongue in cheek or whatever, but, they had rules in this. My understanding was that they had to play it and as few takes as possible. They had to use vintage instruments, and I forget what the third rule was, but that's basically what it was. And as fast as possible and as few takes as possible, and use vintage instruments whenever possible. And so that's what they did. And they tossed it off. I think the first record to me shows a breadth of production and stuff that's not. This sounds a little more mastered to a mean, or mastered to a central thing, where the other one had outstanding jump off the tracks and they sounded a little bit different. They had different colorations in them. Let's go ahead and go to number 10. We're talking about this. We'll talk about colorations. Gus Dudgeon produced 1992's None Such. None Such was a relief to our ears coming out. I have it at 3.5 stars. I love some of this record. I was actually in law school when this record came out. My roommate heard it and flipped out, went out and bought it. Anybody who heard this record really liked it. I probably sold in Louisville, Kentucky, when I went to law school. I probably sold about 10 copies of this thing. Humble Daisy, I love I don't like Peter Pumpkinhead. It's okay. I just not, I know it was to try to gather some kind of steam commercially, but My Bird Perform has just more complexity to it. I love the echoey guitar at ping ping on the Smartest Monkeys. It's really cool. Disappointment is okay. I'm not crazy about the type of beat, the shuffle song. I think it goes bad. Now Holly Up on Poppy's special, Crocodile's really special. Uh, Rook is okay. It's already played on the Omnibus is fantastic. That Wave is great. I think those two together is good. And then she appeared. War Dance is okay. War Dance is a nice song, but it's The Ugly Underneath Bungalow, Books Are Burning kind of, goes in the same thing as Peter Pumpkinhead kind of in a way. It's a little bit too I know they're going for this thing and they have these somebody burning at the stake here at Peter Pumpkinhead, and then books are burning and stuff, and it's the pilgrims on this and the pilgrim dress and stuff. Bungalow's a nice song by Colin next to the last one. Ugly Underneath is too. This is an interesting record. It's interesting. The record has a gatefold. I didn't get this into vinyl until later. I didn't think this was out originally. It was only on CD that I knew of. In the States. But anyway, good record. Really enjoy it. Number 10. That's 1992's None Such. Let's go next to 1983, and what some people call. I saw a review of this that said Mummer is a bummer, and it is kind of a down record in a way. I don't know what the word mummer, why mummer's here, but Love on a Farm Boy's Wages is really good. Wonderland is like from some other planet. That's one of the most beautiful. If I had a greatest hits of XTC, that would certainly be on it. Human Alchemy's beautiful. Lady Bird's beautiful. But some of this, In Loving Memory of a Name, Me and the Wind, it's okay. Deliver Us from the Elements. That I think those are the down parts of it. Great Fire is a decent song. It's a decent single, but I don't think it's anything exceptional. I think, excuse me, when this thing came out, it was it was a little bit of a disappointment to people in 1983. So I'm going to give it 3.5 stars. I think time has increased its. Give me hold it for a sip of this. I think time has increased its fortune somewhat. And so because of that, I raised it to 3.5, and it is my number 9. Number 8, much in the same time frame here, comes to the 1984's Big Express. I'm up to 4 stars on this. This is 1984, and credit to them, they did not allow. The great thing about XTC is they operated in the 80s and in the era of danger when synthesizers ruined everything, when synthesizers ruined music, when synthesizers ruined a lot of good songs. Landing on Water, Dream of the Blue Turtles. What other records were just ruined by digital sound? I just, really bad. Dylan's record at the time, Empire Burlesque, sounded just terrible because it was on one of those original ones. Alan Holdsworth Road Games, really bad. But, XTC didn't do that. XTC went out. They got good producers. Again, this produced David Lord and XTC with Wake Up, All You Pretty Girls Beautiful. Kisser, This World Over, I think is a classic. Again, beautiful song. Small Town is good. Hummingbird is good. Rain It Blows decent. You're the Wish You Are. I Remember the Sun. Now, Train Running Low and So Cold, and the repetitiveness and the churning rhythm of that, I understand. People don't appreciate that. And that's what probably, there's a couple moments that holds us down a little bit below these. But this is really close. You get in here, the range, if I'm looking at this list, when I look to 6 through 8, any of these 6 through 8 could really go in any position on any day. But today, I've got Big Express 84 at 4 stars in 1984. My next 4-star record I have is the breakthrough record, in my opinion, from 1979 when they went with some Colin Moulding singles here, Making Plans for Nigel. Life Begins at the Hop, and then Andy's When You're Near Me, I Have Difficulty, 10 Feet Tall, just fantastic. Outside World, Scissor Man, Complicated Game, Real by Real, fantastic record, Millions. This is just, this was a breakthrough record. I think it was a breakthrough record really in the States too. I think they'd hit in Canada before this and done okay back home. But this is one where it started here. And this is really where Dave Gregory came in and where Dave Gregory came to the fore. So this is certainly a record that won't be forgotten. They were still out on the road at this time. And Great record, great impact from this record. And number 7, 1979's Drums and Wires. Let's get this towards the end here. And we're talking about the wonderful, beautiful, luscious 1999 Apple Venus here. This is Andy Partridge's, really Andy Partridge's masterpiece when it was going on. If you have to say these last two records, Colin Moulding is involved in the last two records, but the truth of it is that Andy probably puts his imprint greater. And it does, I think Dave is on maybe on part of this. I'm not sure, but some of this, the orchestration on this River of Orchids is fantastic. I like this, but to me, the highlight is Easter Theater, the third song. It's just absolutely beautiful. And that was said that I saw something online where Andy said that was written around the time of maybe Skylarking and Oranges and Lemons around that time. Your dictionary is pretty nice. It's a kind of a one of those confrontational, plaintive ballad, shock ballads from Andy. Fruit Nut is funny. I can't own her. Harvest Festival is just beautiful, and the last balloon, my God, this really floats off well. I think Green Man. I don't like Green Man so much, or Frivolous Tonight, or Nights in Shining Karma. It's kind of the middle of the record to me. If you look at it, songs 4, 5, 6, and 7, and even part of 8 are the middle of it is the weakest part of this. But I mean, this is an example of it probably should slip under drums and wires, but the ones that are great are that great. I mean, they're on, the orchestration's perfect, the sound is gorgeous. And so I will put this at 1999's peacock feathered, whatever you want to call it, Apple Venus. We say volume 1, but it's really Apple Venus in the other one, and that's 4 stars to me. Now we're up to 4.5 stars, and let's take it to surprisingly, after I checked this out, this really surprised me, the significantly improved over its predecessor best-selling record in the United States by XTC, 1989's Oranges and Lemons. Don't get it. You would never know that. I mean, I knew they did okay, and this is one where they actually came out and did a little promotional tour, played a little bit in there. But the Garden of Earthly Delights, Mayor of Simpleton was a hit, King for a Day was a hit. The Loving, Poor Skeleton Steps Out, I love it. One of the millions. You move on here to side 3, Cynical Days, Across This Antheap. Pink Thing, Miniature Son, I loved, and Chalk Hills and Children is fantastic. Paul Fox. Production again, Andy very much into the perfection of this, but there's kind of an LA sound to this. This is kind of done in a very, it has more of a band sound than a produced sound, like the record before that we're going to talk about here later. This has more of a bandy sound than the other one did. The other had more of a studio. The other one, the predecessor, had more of a studio sound. But let's talk again now about what I consider to be an underrated record in a lot of people's view, and maybe not, but 1980s masterpiece. 4.5 stars, Black Sea. You either get it here in the original way, in the bag, and pull it out when you pull it out. And the cover's here. I have one with the cover anyway that came without the bag, so let's look at that one here. When you look at these type of records here, you have this on Wonderful Virgin, and because you look at number 1, you look at let's just start here. Okay, looking at this record here, XTC Black Sea, you've got the Respectable Street, which is the big one, Generals and Majors, Living Through Another Cuba, Love at First Sight, Rocket from a Bottle, No Language. This is almost a perfect side. It's probably the best side of XTC ever. The side 1 is the most consistent side. Side 2 is great too. Towers of London, Paper and Iron, Burning with Optimism's Flame, Sergeant Rock is probably the peaks. Travel is the last song, not as good. One of those irritating, on and on and on songs that Andy likes to put at the end of records here. And again, it's another rattler by Andy with this, which probably kept him out, kept a lot of people interested in the momentum that it built up. They're dressed in their sea suits here. But really a fantastic record and set up a lot of great things to come here. And the very next one we have here is the first record that I referred to earlier from the alter ego of the band. Number 3 for me is the psychedelic panache, whatever you want to call it, of, you want to say Pink Floyd, you want to say the Beatles, you want to say half of that, the psychedelic and wonderful, wonderful. I remember working in the record store when this came out. We were just completely flummoxed by it because I didn't know anything about it before it happened. But the cover was just so unbelievably psychedelic. And of course, Bike Ride to the Moon, when the vocals do the going up there at the end. 25 o'clock, good, my love explodes. But what in the world? The Mole from the Ministry, though, was so great. I mean, with those slow down vocals and Your Gold Dress. What in the world? Oh my God. Anyway, sir, the alter ego of the band, Sir John Johns, the Red Curtain, Lord Cornelius Plum, and E.I.E.I.O. and it's just funny. They're fantastic. It was amazing that they would have the ability to do this. But there's a story online. I'm not going to tell you about it now, where they found some money and got in the studio quickly. And again, that was one of their rules. So in that time, fewer songs, it worked out great. Let's get to another. That's a 5-star record, 1985. My first of the 3 5-star records. My second 5-star record, of course, is going to be number 2. And of course, it's going to be 1982's English Settlement. When this one hit me, dude, I was bowled over. This is a different record. In fact, this is one that really made the biggest imprint on me, that this band has matured. I mean, I had enjoyed their stuff before, but I mean, Runaways, Ball and Chain, Jason the Argonauts, Census Working Overtime, of course, was a hit. No Thugs in Our House, Yacht Dance, All of a Sudden It's Too Late, Melt the Guns, Leisure Nearly Africa, Knuckle Down, Fly on the Wall, English Roundabout, Snowman. I mean, it's a you have the serrated cover here with the beautiful bit that they paid for, and by God, it deserved it. I hope they didn't get charged for it, but I'm sure they did. But yeah, English Settlement had to be, and I know it never sold anywhere near the magnitude of this great statement that it was, and I think some of it came down at that time. Again, to the tour deal that was right about that time, and became impossible. So let's talk. Thinking about impossible. Let's talk about 1986, and there comes the collision between two of my favorites of all time. You hope they got along. And when I first heard he was producing the record, I was like, "This is the greatest thing in the world." XTC, produced by Todd Rundgren. I thought it was just like a wet dream. Todd had just come off doing a cappella and doing that stuff when this deal had hit him, and it's really had started to begin touring in the fall of I guess in '85 with his band, with the a cappella band, and was coming off that, and I think had been sent these demos when they had picked up him as a producer from a list, evidently from an ultimatum type of a situation with his label, at least in the United States. And Dave Gregory loved Todd, and so and Andy and Colin also had heard of Todd, and thought, okay, let's do it. And so they went over there and they went up to Woodstock, same place where we all went for the estate sale. Those of us that were there before saw the old studio, saw the tapes sitting in there and such, and recorded. And a really fantastic thing came out of it. There are all the stories about it. Everybody hears about, how it was done. The polarity was messed up, or how well, that ended up getting corrected, but how the order was decided by Todd. Essentially what happened, and kind of what made them uncomfortable, is Todd really from the get-go kind of took a in charge attitude with this thing, and basically had all the demos, and much to their surprise, before they got there, they got here's the running order of the record. And they were like, what? Here's the running order. This is how it works, and we're going to map it out. And it was to map out a day. And as a result came the beautiful and incomparable Skylarking. And thank God Todd saw it through. Thank God Andy saw it through. I heard Andy talk about Todd joking about his Soviet Union blue jeans. The same time that they said Todd smoked so much that his hair smoked. It was got kind of personal at some point, but you know what? It turned out fantastic. If they just listened to him and have the respect for him that they should have, and realize that, they're going to get their hands on the studio after this, which they did. They could do whatever they wanted to. But in this kind of a situation, you got to understand when you're dealing with Todd Rundgren, he's already been through a lot of the stuff and been, he's already been chased around the piano by Garth Hudson and ran up there with Albert Goldman and his whole entourage up there, Dylan, the whole bunch. Todd had seen folks and had known what was going on. So by the time XTC signed on, he'd been through the mill some. But the beginning of Summer's Cauldron Grass, the meeting place, Supergirl, which should have been a single, Ballet for a Rainy Day, just in the drumming of Prairie Prince too has to be saluted here. Prairie Prince really brought this record alive. A lot of happiness for this close miking of the drum, and sometimes not having the snare super. The drum had a lot of pop to it, and Prairie at some point that was his sound, but and it really came through on this with Season Cycle. Different sounds, different snare drums. On some of that he used more of a piccolo sound, and on the other ones are in piccolo tuning at least. And then on something like Season Cycle is obviously metal, and he was slung in. But he's just fantastic. Earn Enough for Us sounds like Todd playing really the style with that double tun 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 tun. That double hit thing, like couldn't I just tell you? Big Day, Another Satellite, Mermaid Smile, The Man Who Sailed Around the World Dying, and Sacrificial Bonfire. That's right. This is the original version. This is not the one where they took Mermaid Smile off and inserted Dear God. We all know the story. Todd said, put Dear God on. Dandy didn't want Dear God on. Instead, Andy got Mermaid Smile on, which had really nothing to do with the rest of the record. And, Dying and Sacrificial Bonfire being the end of the day. You're around the bonfire, the beginning of Summer's Cauldron, when the day wakes up. It kind of came out of there with it. Another Satellite, too, was one that got put in originally. I think got put in. And it kind of doesn't go, but Big Day makes sense. Mermaid Smiled, kind of doesn't, but it's okay. It had a little bit of there, but it's The Man Who Sailed Around His Soul is one of the coolest James Bondy sounding spy movie things in production of Todd of all time. But the production on it's fantastic. Of course it is. It's Todd Rundgren. I'm a huge Todd fan, but that's not what led me to this. I was also a huge XTC fan, and it's always great when your two people come together. And that, my friends, makes it number one, 1986, 5 stars. Really fantastic record, really great band. It's a shame they're not together and anymore and not making music, but as long as they remain active, there's certainly a lot of archival stuff that's come out since then. Demo stuff happens to be, all these later records came out in like demo form and things, and if that interests you, and I know that Ape House or whatever has so much stuff with it that Andy Partridge, get over there and check it out. They're selling a lot of the stuff. And Colin's still cooking, and the other guys are out on the road. So if you see them occasionally, let me know. Maybe it's not going to anymore, but it was called XTC, I think EXTC, and operated with the blessing of everyone as far as I know it. So, but anyway, nice to talk to you guys again, and I will be back soon with something new. And I think we're going to go prog next time, but I have another idea for something just to let you know. We have a couple things coming up. I'm thinking about some other collaborations here with some of my friends and maybe a special one with my son. And we'll talk to you later. And thanks a lot for tuning in. Or leave your comments. Please subscribe. Please like the video if you do. And we appreciate the help. We want to get grow this channel a little bit, but we don't want to grow too much. We want to stay in the sweet spot. So we do appreciate your help in staying there. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.